let's speak about the stovetop. Are you allowed to use the stovetop, dairy and milk, one near the other? You have over here 4 burners. You put one dairy pot and one meat pot at the same time while it's cooking, and the steam goes up. We explained already that according to majority of the poskim, since steam goes up, it doesn't connect in any way and goes down, rather it goes up. That's the way steam goes up, not sideways. Because of that, it would be permitted to cook one near the other. Just don't put them too close to each other for 2 reasons. First of all, it does need to have a distance because you don't want them to touch, although touching, we explained before, would not make it asur with that liquid. But you still have to have a certain amount of distance, and also because of that steam, lechatchila, you shouldn't put one right near the other. If you have a pot that you just cooked on top of the stove, and you remove it, you want to cook now dairy pot, you just cooked meat pot, you want to cook dairy pot, or vice versa, that would be also permitted, which means you don't need to have a separate stovetop for meat and one for dairy. Although there are machmirim on everything that I'm saying right now. There are those that are machmir, there are those that say that there is a chumrah that one should take upon himself if he wants. Meikar adin, it's not needed. And this is how Moshe Feinstein says that one is permitted to put his pot on top of the same countertop that you just used for meat. You want to put your pot on the place that you just used for meat, and you're cooking dairy hot, you're allowed to put it there lechatchila, says Moshe. Why is that? Why are you allowed to put it there lechatchila? Very simple. We already learned the concept. Before you took a meat pot, you put it on top of the counter. Hot, with meat inside. What happens? Can the counter absorb from the meat pot? The answer is no. Why not? Because en bliot yotze belo rotev. En balua yotze belo rotev means that unless you have under the pot a nice amount of liquid, the meat does not penetrate to the counter. And because of that, the counter stays parv. Now you take the dairy pot, you want to put it there, same thing, nothing happens. Even if your counter is meat, let's say there was liquid there, or it spilled in there and you cleaned it, but Moshe allows you to put such a thing on top because of the reason we just explained. It would not penetrate one to the other, and you don't have to worry about it. Secondly, when you're talking about stovetops, you allowed to put on the same place meat and dairy, which means you have one burner you just use for meat. Afterwards, you want to take it out, put there dairy. That's permitted. Sometimes while you're cooking the meat, it spills over and it becomes meat. How could you take your dairy pot and put it there?
It's so hot.
Because so hot is a problem. Whenever something is hot, it absorbs in it. If anything, hot makes it into a problem. What's the reason it's permitted? There's few reasons. One reason is because there's fire there, so it burns anything that falls in there. Usually, it burns it out, unless it's a nice amount. But normally, a nice, not too much, burns whatever there. Secondly, since 24 hours passed, normally you clean it. We're talking about clean. If it's dirty, you can't put. If your soup spilled and it's dirty, of course, we're not talking about such a case that then you can take your dairy, you take milk and you heat it on top of such a burner, right? But if it's clean and 24 hours passed, that's also another way to say that such a thing would be permitted. There's only a chumrah, by the way, by chametz. By chametz, there's chumrah of chametz. By chametz, we're much more machmir on all these dinim. But otherwise, for those reasons, it would be permitted.